This is a biomechanical analysis of an overhand right punch, published with permission for A.T. Still University, KIN 5004, Functional Biomechanics. Analysis is completed by me, Jason Kamens, the head strength conditioning coach at Power MMA and Fitness. The purpose of this biomechanical analysis is to determine optimal training methodologies and modalities for increasing the power of the overhand right punch. I decided to focus on the training aspect of the biomechanical analysis because I am a strength conditioning coach, not a boxing or MMA technique coach. In this analysis, we will start with a description of the technique of an overhand right punch, and then we'll move into the joints, muscles, and muscle actions involved in the punch. And then the bulk of the presentation will be on the training considerations for increasing power and efficiency of the punch, with a section on injury prevention as well. So here you have C.B. Dalloway, who is a 10-year MMA veteran demonstrating a perfect technique for an overhand right punch. Starts the technique with a drive off of his back leg and then into his hips, midsection and torso, followed by the upper body, and finally shoulder and out the hand into Joe, who is his punching dummy's face right there. So as you just saw right there, the overhand punch is definitely a full body movement. The lower body, you're using all the little joints in your foot, your ankle, your knee, your hip. The upper extremities, we're using our shoulder, elbow, wrist, and hand. And then we're also using all the joints of our torso, including all the facets and everything between the vertebrae. Like I had said, and CB is demonstrating again here, this full body movement pattern. In the lower body, the muscles are going to be concentric and isometric in contraction type. The rear leg is mainly a concentric type movement, whereas the front leg is more of an isometric movement. The upper body, chest, deltoids, and triceps, we're using a concentric movement. And then the lats, rotator cuff, and biceps are more of an eccentric movement. The ultimate goal of the biomechanical analysis is to determine how to get the force generated from the rear leg all the way through the hips, torso, and then finally to the shoulder, hand, and hopefully a potential opponent's face. Strengthening this kinetic chain will create more efficient movement and greater force production capabilities. Any break in this chain is a potential energy leak and results in a loss of power output. Here we have a slow motion video of CB again showing this overhand right. As you can see, the chain starts with a drive off of his back foot. We can use linear kinetics and kinematics to follow the force production up his rear leg as it transfers through his hips. That front leg is used to block or braking type force, so the force will continue up his body into his midsection, torso, and then through his shoulder and out his hand. The training considerations for increasing force production include all of the breakdown of the kinetic chain that we just went over in the last video. So training to increase the force, we need to increase the drive from the rear leg, increase stability and force braking of the front leg, increase stability of the trunk musculature, as well as increase the stress shorten cycle capabilities of the trunk. Then we need to also increase the velocity of the upper body and arm, and then effectively increase effective mass on the finish of the punch. So here, just a short video of demonstrating that drive off of the rear leg that initiates the movement. In order to get more rear leg drive, we need to increase the ground reaction force. So we need to increase the strength and rate of force development, emphasizing a triple joint type extension. So really, Olympic lifting is one of the better ways to increase the ground reaction force for this type of movement pattern. We also use plyometrics, sled pulling and pushing, different squats and deadlift variations as well. Here in the video, he is getting a good view of the braking force that it takes to stop his forward momentum and continue the force up the kinetic chain of his body on that front leg. You can see how those muscles have to activate and stop the force in order to transfer that energy. Some training considerations for increasing the front leg braking force: we need to increase the rigidity of the front leg musculature. This is done by really emphasizing a landing position on different exercises. It could be altitude landings, just stepping off of a box and landing. It could be depth jumps. It could be even simple jumps like vertical jumps or broad jumps with really an emphasis on the landing and the stopping of your force as you're landing. Next is a video where you can see where the trunk stability and stretch shorten cycle come into play of the overhand right punch as we work our way up the kinetic chain. So for the overhand punch to be effective, we need to have some lumbar stability, but with some good rotation through the thoracic spine as well as the upper torso. So some different exercises for increasing trunk stability include different plank variations, pal-off press variations, bridges and hip thrusts, and then deadlift good morning variations. So then the training considerations for increasing the rotational power through the thoracic and upper body. We could do some rotational medicine ball throws, Russian twists, or a band type rotation that's being demonstrated in the video. Here's CB again showing a rotational medicine ball throw where we're working on staying nice and tight through his lumbar spine, working on the stability through there, and getting a good rotation, increasing the velocity through the thoracic spine and upper torso. Next is training considerations for increasing upper body velocity. We need to increase the ballistic capabilities of the shoulder, chest, and triceps in order to increase the power output in the upper body. So some different exercises we could use are some clap push-ups, some medicine ball drop passes, medicine ball overhead throw or chest pass, or a bench throw like the image is showing below. Here CB is demonstrating an overhead medicine ball throw where he's using his shoulders and triceps to accelerate the velocity of that ball going into the wall. This exercise could actually be good for emphasizing transfer of energy as well. As you can see, he drives through that back leg in order to get the ultimate power out of that ball. Next, we need to work on training considerations for increasing effective mass. So effective mass is how much mass you're using to produce the force at the end of the punch. So if you can use your whole body to effectively the mass of your entire body to throw that punch rather than just the hand, you're going to get a lot more force production. Remember, the force is equals your mass times acceleration. So your body must contract at the end of the punch in order to stiffen and use more of that body musculature and get that force production into your opponent. So some exercise selections would be bag work, where you could actually punch into a bag and you have to stiffen your entire body upon impact. Or we could do a heavy band rotation like the video is demonstrating below, and work on really stabilizing and contracting all your muscles at the end range of motion there. Some training considerations for injury prevention of the overhand right punch. Some particular areas of concern are the lumbar spine, the shoulder, and the hand. So some different exercises people do for hand strengthening are just some of those hand grippers. A lot of times boxers will use a bucket of rice or a bucket of sand and do some squeezing and pulling in there as well. The lumbar spine, we just don't want too much rotational movement through there. We want that to be nice and stiff and stable, like we talked about earlier. So some of those lumbar stability exercises explained earlier would be great for injury prevention as well as performance increase. And then the shoulder joint, probably the most vulnerable joint in the body. We need to really work on scapular stability and upper body pulling type movements so that we can increase the eccentric strength of those muscles as we increase the velocity of the anterior muscles in order to help help control joint stability. In conclusion, the overhand right punch is a full body movement pattern with many muscular contractions and actions. Training each part of the kinetic chain for specific movement and muscle action is paramount to linear and angular force transfer and is the key to increasing power output in the overhand right punch. Injury prevention around vulnerable joints with extreme range of motion could be critical to an athlete's longevity as well. Just a thank you to my punch demonstrator, CB Dalloway, the punch taker, Joe Gelati, and the band rotational exercise demo, Bailey Otting. Here's a list of the references that I used. Thank you all for watching my presentation.